Hello everyone and welcome to this roundtable discussion where we'll be focusing on the topic of women in pharma. I'm going to preface this discussion with a statement. In all industries, there is a lack of women in leadership positions, including the pharma industry. If we look at healthcare, around 80% of the workforce is female, with nursing roles in particular being dominated by women. However, only 26% of C-suite positions are then held by women, with women of colour lagging even further behind than white women. And then in Silicon Valley companies, women hold only around 11% of executive positions. You can find references in the description of this video. So there isn't a question of if there is a glass ceiling for women. We know that this does exist. The question is, what do we do about it? Before we get started on the main discussion today, let's do the introductions. My name is Stephanie Sutton, Group Editor of The Medicine Maker. I've been working in publishing since 2007, and most of the time has been spent in pharmaceutical industry reporting. I've spoken to countless brilliant women over the course of my career, but there's no getting away from the fact that I feel the pharma industry can seem male-dominated, which is why I was really keen to lead this discussion. And I want to give a huge thank you to our guest speakers who are joining me today: Paula Casalino from IPS, Melissa Berquist from Resilience, and Sarah Oda from Women in Bio. Ladies, I'm going to ask each of you to give a quick introduction. Who wants to start? So Melissa, how about you? Do you want to go first?
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Really happy to be here. I'm Melissa Berquist. I'm the technical head of the government and NGO franchise at Resilience. We're a CDMO based in the United States with 13 sites across the US and Canada. I'm an engineer and a biochemist by training, so this topic of women in STEM and women in biopharma is of particular close to my heart. But one thing that I've learned kind of throughout my career is to find what you like and do that. So I didn't like being an engineer. That was not the path for me. So then I went to graduate school, did something different. From there, going into a laboratory also was not the path for me. Went into government, went into academic service, and then now I've finally found my way to what I think will be my forever home, which is the biopharmaceutical industry. And trying to break through those glass ceilings is definitely something that I look forward to.
And Paula, do you want to go next?
Sure. Paula Casalino here, chemical engineer by trade. I graduated over 30 years ago. I feel like I'm a pioneer in the space. Almost 30 years of my career has been in pharma. And so, yes, it's had its challenges. It's been a lonely place for a woman in the pharma industry, and we'll probably get into it more. But I love what I do, and we'll keep fighting through those glass ceilings. Concrete ceilings too. Nice to meet you all.
Then Sarah, over to you.
Yes, thank you for inviting me today, Stephanie. So I have two roles. I am currently the Executive Director of Medical Affairs at TGAS Advisors. We are a division of Trinity Life Sciences, an advisory partner for the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. I've worked in medical affairs, though, for over 15 years now, driving the development and execution of medical affairs strategies, launch plans at both large and emerging life science companies. Prior to joining TGAS, I actually had my own consulting company where I would come in and help medical affairs teams with all their pre-commercialization activities, including building out infrastructure and leading medical planning and execution of tactical goals. I'm also the national president-elect for Women in Bio, and in January, I will be moving into the president and board chair for 2024. Women in Bio, we're an organization of professional women committed to promoting careers, leadership, and opportunities, entrepreneurship for women in the life sciences, from the classroom to the boardroom.
Great. Well, now that we're all introduced, let's kick off the main discussion then. So to start with, I want to ask all of you, what has your experience been as a woman in the pharma industry? And maybe what are some of the skills you've had to gain or grow to overcome any challenges that you've faced? Not sure who wants to start with this one. Does anyone want to go first?
I can go first. In general, I've actually had a very positive experience working in the pharmaceutical industry. Over the years, I've seen incredible strides made with more women moving into leadership, but there are still many, many gaps that need to be filled. We're seeing more women entering STEM. We're seeing more women coming into the life sciences, particularly pharma. And at my company, we actually did an assessment of women in medical affairs specifically, and we're actually pretty 50-50 as far as women in the industry, but not at leadership levels. And that is the gap. That is the biggest gap that I'm seeing, is that we are here, we have a voice at certain layers, but when we look at the C-suite, when we look at boardrooms, we're still seeing that it's dominated by men, as you called out in your introduction. As far as what I've had to learn personally, I've had to learn to advocate for myself and ask questions, really push myself out of my comfort zone and try new things and, take on challenges that in my mind might seem impossible, but with the right support, I can really achieve anything that I want. And one of the main tenets of Women in Bio is really showing women that you can do anything you want to do. There are opportunities out there for you, but it's critical that we see women who look like our people. Let me rephrase. It's critical that we see people who look like us in those leadership positions so that we know it's possible. And young women who are just entering into college or their early careers know that it's possible for them as well.
And then Melissa, do you want to share your experiences?
Yeah, thanks so much. So, echo a lot of what Sarah said. I think that visibility and that belief in yourself, the confidence that, yes, I can do this, comes a lot from seeing other people in similar type roles. And for me personally, I think, how we accomplish something is just as important as the accomplishment itself. And so learning the skills of kind of servant leadership and putting others, before myself, I think that comes naturally to me as a woman and as a mother, and kind of all of those things that you think of in that more kind of traditional role, but then recognizing those are strengths that I can apply in my professional capacity as well. And recognizing that just because I might be more empathetic or I might be a certain type of communicator, I can't let that hold me back. I need to go out there and not be someone different just because I'm in the workplace, just because I'm in those boardroom meetings. And recognizing that as a strength, I think, was a big challenge for me early in my career, but something I've become much more comfortable with as I've recognized everyone else is in this same position too. They might not be feeling quite as confident. And if you just believe you can do it, you will.
And then Paula, how about you?
Yeah, my career has been a little bit different. I spent most of my career on the owner side of the business, working through the engineering, maintenance, operations space in the pharma world. I can tell you that that area of the business is male dominant. My key role has been capital project execution for most of my career. And so not only on the engineering side I was often alone at the table as a woman, but the trades, the contractors, they're all mostly male anyway. So my experience is a little bit different. Just recently, or actually I would say about 6 years ago, I finally joined the consulting side of the business at IPS, and I brought the IPS to Canada, and I run the operations here for Canada. But I can tell you that one of the characteristics that kind of pulls me through all the time is determination. The ability to stay focused on the goals, no matter what happens, the ability to keep going, even when, it gets tough. It's crucial for that skill set is crucial for when you have the setbacks. You got to be able to, get back on your feet, move forward, maintain the pace, keep the confidence up, which is another trait I think was mentioned by Melissa. You just have to be confident in yourself and your ability. When you have the haters, when you have people try to knock you off your feet or, try to discredit you, you got to come back knowing that, hey, no, I am right on this. And you have to have also really good communication skills, because as women, if you yell or you show a bit of emotion, it's like, oh, she's being really bossy or something, right? So you got to contend with that as well. So, and then the collaboration skills, because it takes a lot of communication, working together to bring, people along. Along my career, I've been told, oh, you can't be a bull in a china shop, right? So you got to like slow down, get people on the bus, move forward. So it's, and I think for me, those have been, key traits that and skills that have helped me along my career.
And, as I said before, talking about the glass ceiling, we know it exists, whether we've experienced it or not directly ourselves. Why do you think it is still so challenging for women to advance their careers? Do we have any idea what is creating this? And again, not sure who wants to jump in and start with this one. Should I just pick someone? Paula, go for it.
I think a lot of it, well, I have a few points. One is family commitments. I think in like it or not, I think women are still considered as the primary caregivers at home. So that work-life balance has been difficult over the years. I know before COVID, if you're not at work by 8 o'clock in the morning, you're not there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and with your male colleagues, it's ill perceived, right? There was a lot of stress that you had to be there, right? So that, I think family commitments is a big one. There are still gender biases. Like we can pretend like they're not there, but I believe that they still are there, right? Also company culture, right? Some companies, it takes, a lot to change a company culture to try to embrace some new ideas and new ways of working. And also personal performance. Some women, not all women can be in the C-suite. Right. But I think there are many talented, super smart women that deserve to be there and need to be given the opportunity through sponsorship in an organization.
And I think another thing is the lack of diversity at the executive level is just perpetuating more resistance, more barriers, producing fewer opportunities for women to rise into leadership roles. It's really hard to take that first step. It's really hard to be that first person to push to get onto these into the C-suite, to get onto a board. So there really does need to be intent at an organization. There needs to be a structure in which diversity and inclusion is at the forefront to ensure that there is forethought to bring women into these roles. Women there are plenty of men who don't need to be in the C-suite either. There's plenty of men who don't necessarily want to be at that level, but there's a lot of women who do. And it's not always we're given that opportunity. We're not always considered for these roles when they come up. So it's really important for organizations to think about women as they're looking to fill these roles. One of the things that we do at Women in Bio is we have a program called Boardroom Ready. And this was really created to accelerate the advancement of women into the boardrooms, to amplify their voice, and to give them the tools that they need to ensure that they're ready as they start to move forward into pursuing a board seat, making sure that their value proposition is where it needs to be, giving them those tools that they need, allowing them to network with other women who are looking to get on boards or who already are on boards, and really navigate the board selection process that can be pretty challenging. And if you aren't aware of what goes into it and you don't have a mentor or don't have somebody who's already experienced it, going at it alone can be really challenging. So I think a big part of it is just organizations taking a look at themselves and saying, why do we have this big imbalance, and what can we do to fix it?
Yeah, and I think building on that point in particular, Stephanie, you started out saying like there is a glass ceiling, it exists, right? And maybe the four of us sitting around this table recognize that, but I think it is part of companies actually acknowledging this is a challenge, and it's not just because, to both Sarah and Paula's points, not because women don't want to be there or because they're incapable of being there, but maybe there are either societal or corporate cultural challenges that need to be acknowledged and addressed to facilitate women being included as part of the conversation. And DEI can't just be words on paper or pretty initiatives that don't actually have like an actionable outcome that is changing the way that we do business. And so I really like what Sarah was saying about initiatives at Women in Bio and how they are really focused on how do you take that next step? Maybe you don't know what it looks like, or you don't even know the tools that you need, but really positioning women to gain those skills and put them in places to make an impact. And I think within corporate culture, we need to acknowledge that these ceilings exist. They are real. They are intimidating to try and break through. But ignoring the problem or just saying HR will fix it, those are not solutions. And so I think it can be challenging to speak up and have confidence in that voice, and especially in scientific roles that are male dominated. But going back to, what we were talking about in the previous question, that confidence and that I belong here has to be part of the equation, but companies have to acknowledge the challenge themselves and not just leave it to women to, forge the solution alone.
I think, we can probably talk about a lot of the challenges and problems all day, because there's definitely a lot. But we do want to focus on some of the positive sides as well and what is changing. So, I want to ask you all, how are things starting to change in the industry? Hopefully there is some change that is being seen. And what success stories and positive engagement are you seeing either at your own companies or elsewhere when it comes to, gender inclusivity, women empowerment, or all of that?
I'm happy to go first.
Go for it, Sarah.
I'm happy to go first. So I had a few examples that came to mind, but one that I wanted to highlight. I've definitely seen more women moving into the CEO role as of late. I've in my consulting capacity, I worked with 3 different companies that had women at the helm. They were either started by women or women were appointed into the CEO role. And that was just something that I did not see 5 years ago, even 4 years ago. I hadn't, because I think 3 years ago, I definitely saw it, but 5 years ago, it wasn't happening. I wasn't seeing women in these roles. And I currently work at a company, Trinity Life Sciences, and we appointed a woman as our CEO when the previous CEO was retiring. And this just happened, I think in June, it was announced, June or July, they announced it. And she wasn't put into the role because she's a woman. She was put into the role because she was the best possible person to take over the company. It was really the best option. And she is going to take the company into the next level, into the next generation, continue to grow and expand the company. And it was just really energizing to know that. And I had just started at the company when this was announced. And I was so happy to see that I have joined an organization that really does value women in leadership. Not only do we have her as the CEO, there's a lot of women who are partners and run our individual business units at the organization. And that's just something that I hadn't really seen much when I first started in the industry. And even as I said, 5 or 10 years ago, I wasn't seeing this change, this trend forward. It's something that I think is really exciting for young people to see. I work with a lot of young women who are interested in STEM, and to be able to show them, look at all these women who are starting their own companies, who are CEOs, who are on boards, who are doing all these different things. And you can be like them if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. Do what makes you happy in life. But these women, that was their goal, and they have now gotten there. And it's just been great to see the change.
And Paula, have you got anything to add? Any success stories from your side?
Yeah, I mean, when I started IPS here in Canada 6 years ago, I was the only one in the office on October 2nd, 2017. So I've had to build the team from scratch, which has given me a great opportunity. And happy to report that my team is 32% women, qualified, highly talented engineers and architects. So I'm really proud about that fact. And the team itself is 50% diverse in general. So we're about 85 strong up here today. And we are part of our 3,000 strong team globally. But as a team here in Canada, I think we've made huge strides. And I want to say, we were not deliberate necessarily about just hiring, to hire a woman because we need to fill a number. I mean, I don't ever want to be that woman. I don't ever want that job, right? But, we were able to find the talent out there. And so the bonus is that they were women. And so I'm really proud about that fact, and we'll continue to encourage. We hire co-ops all the time. So I was actually at an event last night, and emerging youth coming out of the University of Toronto, sponsored by the ISPE, and there was a lot of females in that room as well. So it's encouraging to see, and I think by talking about it more. I know when I was like my early days of my career, nobody talked about this, right? And we had, government policies that we had to, hire a certain number of women to be okay in a company. So not a lot of them ended up in engineering, but they checked the box on, women in the workforce, right? Which is not what we want. We want, to put the women in the right places, not just to tick boxes. So it's been, a pleasure to build a Canadian team and to be part of a bigger team. And we hope to achieve great things as we move forward. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more that we see, again, people like us in leadership roles, that helps inspire that confidence that you can do it. But to me, it also demonstrates that a company is serious about diversity and inclusion. The more that you see kind of not just a male dominated or whitewashed C-suite, it indicates a commitment to valuing diverse perspectives and valuing curiosity and innovation and the things that come by bringing a bunch of different types of people around the table to, contribute in leadership roles. One person that's personally inspiring for me is Kristen Peck. She's the CEO of Zoetis. I've followed her for a couple of years now. I mean, that's a huge company. My background is animal health. So when I see that particularly, when we talk about biopharma maybe having challenges, animal health and agricultural health is it's probably just as challenging as, in engineering. It's a very male dominated field. And to see her leading a Fortune 500 company so successfully and really providing emphasis on continuing in education and diversity initiatives and celebrating the successes of her teams. Every time I watch her interviewed, I'm just like, wow, she is doing it right. And that has provided a super inspirational example for me personally of someone that has achieved what I want, the goal I have set for myself. So again, I think that really makes a difference of seeing someone that has done it before and at least starts to blaze the trail for you so that you're not, bushwhacking through the wilderness trying to do it entirely on your own every time.
And then, how else do you think the pharma industry as a whole can support women, whether it's through, company policies or initiatives? What would you like to see there, or through external networks outside of the workplace? Sarah, do you want to start this one again?
Sure. I have a lot of opinions on this one, particularly with the work we do with women in bio. So one way that I've seen a lot of companies successfully engage and support women is through opportunities internally to engage with other women, give people visibility to other women who work at the organization, so that they have those opportunities to build a community, whether that's focused on advancement of their careers, mentorship, networking, giving back to younger women who are interested in STEM, whatever it might be. That is something I found be really, really powerful. And beyond that, what I've seen with Women in Bio, our main mission is and our entire value proposition is to encourage and support women achieving whatever goals that they want, whether that's in high school, trying to just see what are the possibilities, what are your opportunities. I work in medical affairs, and most people in pharma companies don't necessarily know what medical affairs does. I can guarantee young people don't know. I didn't know what medical affairs was until I happened upon some people who worked in the industry, and they shared with me what the objectives were and what the focus was. And I thought, oh, this is really interesting. This is something that would be a really good fit for me long term. And that's how I fell into this role. But I think organizations pharmaceutical companies supporting organizations like Women in Bio, giving women the opportunity to network with other women or receive mentorship from other women or other men. That's something we don't always talk about, is that men are our allies. And in order to truly rise into these leadership roles, there needs to be support from all people in leadership for women who are interested in meeting those goals. So I think it's really important for organizations to build a community internally that is supportive, that is promoting diversity, that's allowing opportunities for networking, allowing opportunities for mentorship, so that people can see what is possible for them.
And then, who else wants to share their point of view on this one? Paula, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk a lot about coaching, mentoring, but we don't talk about sponsorship. I think in these organizations, we absolutely need sponsors. So when those, bright talents, those women that want to progress and want to move up, I think they need to be, identified as such, and then a sponsor needs to be available to them to help them navigate through the organization to get to those levels. Mentoring is great, but you need somebody in the organization to say, I need to promote that person, and here's why. And until that starts to happen, when we can just talk about mentoring all we want, right, and coaching. But I feel that the biggest gaps, and I've seen this in my own career, is you need that sponsor to say, you know what, yes, she can do it, and here's why, and be at the table when they're making those promotion or promotion decisions. So.
And thank you for bringing that up, Paula. I completely agree. Having a sponsor or champion, depending on how you think about it, we don't talk about that nearly enough. Having that person who can advocate you when you're not in the room, somebody who thinks, oh, she should be the next person to take on this role. She is the expert. Oh, no, completely agree.
And Melissa, how about you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree as well. And I think, part of that, whether you want to call it mentorship, but I agree, there is a difference between that and the advocate or champion that's in the room when you're not there. But having those individuals that provide kind of a tangible thing. I was provided the opportunity to have executive coaching. It was something that I never would have asked for myself. And to use it as, hey, not you have these deficiencies you need to kind of grow your skill set, but really we see something in you and want to help you like leap to the next level, was something that it gave me the confidence in myself that, oh yeah, this is something that maybe I want, when I never would have maybe thought to ask for it before, or thought to set those big goals for myself. But I think, again, having the conversation is really the starting point. We can put mentorship programs in place, but if you don't recognize the challenge, those mentorship programs aren't going to exist. They're not going to actually achieve the outcomes that we're wanting. So I agree with both Paula and Sarah that, building allyship across an organization at all levels, digging deep into the depth of your organization. Don't just look at, directors or managers and the 1 or 2 steps that they might be able to move up, but look at your manufacturing technicians. How do we set a career path for those individuals to move up in a supervisory role? I think we're talking a lot about C-suite and that level of leadership, but leadership happens across an organization. And I think the more that we can do to ensure that that culture is both horizontal and vertical, the stronger the leadership pool you'll have to pull from to hopefully include more women.
And I think the topic of mentorship, brings us really nicely onto the next question. In your careers, what are the best tips or mentorship advice that you've ever received? And Melissa, maybe we start with you for this one.
Sure. So for me, I think it's, be authentic and stay curious. The more you learn, the more you maintain a growth mindset, the more you ask questions. Those are all positive things that can sometimes feel intimidating. Raising your hand and making it seem like, oh, I should know this, but I don't. Don't apologize for not knowing something as long as you want to continue learning. And to me, those are the most important things that will get recognized in an organization that values diversity, that values innovation, that values creativity, and different types of thought processes or ways of working. In our family at the end, as we get the kids out the door in the morning, we always say, learn something and be kind. And to me, like that's the best advice I could give young female leaders. Because if you stay curious, you're always going to advance.
Lovely. And Sarah, you next.
I wish I could show Melissa my notes that I wrote before this call, because very similar, very, very similar. My response to this question. I love this question. I think this is, whenever I'm on panels like this, when young people ask me, people early in their career ask me, what do you recommend? What's your advice for me? Be curious, take risks, and don't be afraid to raise your hand. Those are always what I say. It is something that I've had to learn over time. It's not within my nature necessarily to push. I said at the beginning, to push myself out of my comfort zone. But if we just sit back and wait for opportunities to be given to us, they're not going to come. The reality is, if you want something, you need to make it happen. You need to build those relationships with people, so that you have your champion, you have your advocate, you have the people who are going to speak up for you and think of you when an opportunity comes along. You have to be okay failing. It's okay to not be perfect. And I can assure you, most people, I won't say all, but most people in leadership have made mistakes along the way. We've all had our missteps. We've all faltered, but we've learned from them. We've picked ourselves up and we've progressed because of what we've done. I think it's also important to know when to ask for help. Nobody's doing it alone. Nobody should have to do it alone. Knowing who to go to, being okay, saying, I'm not sure how to solve this particular problem. This is what I'm thinking. Can you help me? Can we work together to come to a solution is really important. So I would say, be okay asking for help, get out there, push yourself, and you'll see what can happen. It's just amazing.
All right. For me, I would say never give up and don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, and believe in yourself and your ability. I think that's really critical. Also, find something that you're passionate about. Don't make it about money or title or position. You really got to love what you do, because when those days are tough, it's, you're there for the love of what you do. So that's my advice.
And thank you for all of you for sharing your advice, because I think that's really important for people. Like I said earlier, we can talk about the challenges a lot, but we really need to focus on giving people advice, mentoring the younger people, and making sure that those career pathways and those leadership positions are open for people who are younger. So I think that's really important. And even though we talk about the importance of this, there will be people out there, or some people out there, who do dismiss these conversations. We are seeing a bit of a backlash against women's rights in some parts of the world. And you do get some people who say that, well, women are not in leadership positions because they don't want to be. Or, some people say that women don't enjoy STEM topics and that's why there's a lack of women there. So what I'd say to all of you is, what would you say to people to try and convince them, of the importance of this topic and why we must keep talking about it and keep pushing it forward?
I can start with this one. I would say, women make up 50% of the population worldwide. So not thinking about women and having women at the table, whatever level in the organization, you're missing a big opportunity on, what's important to them. The products that you develop, the services that you offer, you need to think about half of the population. You can't just say, well, this is my idea and then move on, because not, So I think for us, or for the individuals in the C-suite, and it's just a missed opportunity if you just ignore 50% of the population. So critical.
I completely agree. We know women are curious. We know women are interested in these activities. I wish I could bring everybody to one of our young women in bio events. We work primarily with high school students, and we see so much excitement and curiosity and just enjoyment when we show them some of the really cool things that we're doing behind the scenes. They ask really, really intelligent, innovative questions, things that I never would have thought about. I was doing a panel with they were fifth graders. And we were trying to teach them what does it mean to run a clinical trial? What is a phase 1, 2, 3? What does phase 4 mean? And they asked such intelligent questions that stumped our panel. Like we've worked in the industry for 20 plus years, and we've run countless numbers of clinical trials. And some of the women on the panel had started their own companies, developed really innovative drugs that are now approved. But the fifth graders were asking us questions that we had to pause and think really hard about before we could answer. And so to say women aren't interested in STEM is a fallacy. It's not that we're not interested, it's that we're not encouraged. It's that we're not given those opportunities, and we're not given the same respect in a lot of ways that other people might be. And so I think it's really time for everybody to take a step back and think, let's stop doing this men versus women, boys versus girls. It's just people who are interested in STEM. It's people who are interested in leadership, and really ensure that the right people are put into the right roles.
Yeah, and I think to build off of that, Sarah, people that are interested in it, also people that are good at it. I think to your great example of the fifth graders, they are curious. They are asking great questions. They are brilliant minds. And so I think we need to encourage that too, and not let the fallacy stop at they're not interested or they're not capable. They're both. And I think that's a really important, piece to bring into the conversation. And to Paula's point about, women make up 50% of the global population, not just not thinking about those individuals, but dismissing their lived experience and maybe challenges that they're bringing to the table of, yeah, I do have childcare obligations, or I do have an ailing parent, or whatever, that I'm falling into this default caregiver role. Dismissing that lived experience as, well, can't you just XYZ, I think really does a disservice to our entire population, our entire organizations, because you are leaving out that 50%. And so I think opening the door to recognizing the importance of that lived experience and using it to drive positive social change, positive corporate change. It raises awareness that this is still an issue in 2023. And we need to, continue to take that opportunity to do better, but encouraging at a young age and showing the art of the possible, and making these young girls think, this is really exciting, and I'm good at it. And to Paula's point, and I love it, is something that I think hopefully will help, tip the balance as we, go into the future.
So I want to thank all of you for everything you've shared so far. I think there's lots of advice there and lots of insight that I hope people will go away and consider. Now that we're coming to the end of this discussion, I want to ask each of you just to give a closing comment, any final thoughts that you have. Sarah, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm so grateful to be on this incredible panel today. To all the women out there who are passionate about STEM, I encourage you to pursue your dreams, pursue leadership, whatever that might look like. Your voice, your perspective is critical to shaping the future of STEM, and your contributions really can make a difference into the work that we're trying to do. Take risks, network, find a mentor, find a champion, and be yourself. You really are capable of achieving anything that you want if you set your mind to it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
And Paula, do you want to go next?
Sure. Well, I just, again, want to thank you all. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and this discussion has been is amazing. I would just say my advice would be, find work that you love. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. Make integrity your moral compass, and lean in.
And Melissa, final word goes to you.
Sure. Super. I love having the final word. So I think it's just really important to be resilient as women in this industry. We're rewarded for overcoming adversity, running towards challenges. None of us are ever going to feel 100% ready, 100% prepared, 100% right, 100% fearless. But if you believe in yourself and you trust in your ability to persevere, you will 100% regain that investment in yourself. It's ultimately going to make you stronger and more prepared to take on those leadership roles. I think Sarah said it earlier about, making mistakes. None of us are perfect, and we're all going to make mistakes, right? To me, the key is to not make the same mistakes over and over, to continue to learn and improve a little bit each day. So as kind of my final closing comment, in terms of everything that we've talked about today, one piece that I think has been missing is, love what you do, but celebrate your success. It's great to look back on what you've achieved, whether it's in a month or in a year or throughout your career, but stand tall and, really embrace those accolades because you've earned them.